All Hail Biafra! This is Biafra Liberation Army Network coming to you again. Please like, share, and comment.
Breaking news. Zoo presidency in panic mood as coup happens in neighboring country Benin Republic. Good afternoon, great Biafrans and lovers of freedom all over the world. This is Biafra Unite Television breaking news update. Today's date is 7th of December 2025. Reports from Beninese media suggest that a coup d'etat has been underway in the capital since early Sunday morning, December 7th, 2025. Local outlet Chad One reports that President Patrice Talon's residence in the Leguezo neighborhood came under attack at dawn, allegedly carried out by a group of soldiers led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri. By mid-morning, Lieutenant Colonel Tigri appeared on national television, which is believed to be under military control, announcing himself as the chairman of the Military Re-establishment Committee. The situation in Cotonou remains tense, with eyewitness reports pointing to troop movements around several strategic locations across the city. Beninese media continue to report fast-moving developments as a suspected coup unfolds in the capital. The outlet Chad One says it will provide minute-by-minute updates as the situation evolves. So far, there has been no official response from President Patrice Talon or his government following the reported attacks on his residence in the Leguezo neighborhood and the subsequent appearance of Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri on state television, where he declared himself chairman of a newly formed Military Re-establishment Committee. The unrest in Benin comes amid a broader wave of coups that has gripped West Africa in recent years, raising renewed concerns about the region's democratic stability. Just last month, Guinea-Bissau became the latest flashpoint after army generals seized power on the eve of a presidential election. Heavy gunfire was reported near the presidential palace in Bissau, and President Umaro Sissoco Embalo was detained. The military halted the electoral process, claiming national security concerns, and appointed General Horta Inta A to lead a one-year transitional government. The takeover further destabilized a country long plagued by political turmoil, drawing sharp condemnation from ECOWAS and prompting Nigeria to grant asylum to opposition candidate Fernando Dias da Costa amid fears for his safety. Regional observers say Benin's unfolding crisis could add to the growing list of political upheavals, challenging West Africa's democratic institutions. Mali's prolonged political crisis remains a significant flashpoint in the region. The country has been in turmoil since back-to-back coups in 2020 and 2021 brought Colonel Assimi Goïta to power. In August 2025, the junta announced it had thwarted yet another coup attempt, arresting two generals and a French national accused of plotting to destabilize the transitional government. The announcement came amid mounting frustration within Mali. Political parties are still banned, elections have been indefinitely delayed, and the ruling junta continues to consolidate authority. Combined with persistent jihadist violence and deteriorating relations with Western allies, the situation has deepened fears of further unrest. Burkina Faso has also struggled with internal instability. Under Captain Ibrahim Traoré, who took power in the 2022 coup, authorities reported a foiled coup attempt in April 2025. Officials said senior officers had conspired with terrorist groups to overthrow the junta, triggering lockdowns at military barracks and heightened security across Ouagadougou. The developments in Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, and now Benin underscore a troubling trend across West Africa, where military interventions continue to challenge fragile democratic systems and raise concerns about long-term regional stability. In Mali, the ruling authorities have continued to frame their hold on power as a defense against external meddling. The government has repeatedly rallied public support by accusing Western partners of interference. However, deepening divisions within the military and escalating jihadist attacks have kept tensions high across the country. The junta has further postponed elections and introduced sweeping reforms aimed at tightening its authority. Among the most contentious is a proposal to reinstate the death penalty for treason and terrorism, a move critics say signals a determination to consolidate control rather than pave the way for a democratic transition. Niger's 2023 coup remains another major turning point in the region's democratic decline. President Mohamed Bazoum, who came to office after the country's first peaceful transfer of power, was detained by his own presidential guard. The guard's commander, General Abdurrahmani Tichiani, declared himself leader with full backing from the armed forces. The junta defended the takeover as necessary to confront economic hardship and persistent security threats. But more than 2 years later, Niger remains under military rule, shaped by ECOWAS sanctions, weakened relations with Western partners, and diplomatic isolation. In the capital, Niamey, demonstrations have reflected a mix of public sentiment, with some citizens expressing support for the junta's nationalist message, while others voice growing frustration over continued foreign tensions and stalled political progress. Together, the crises in Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea-Bissau, and now Benin highlight a region grappling with repeated military interventions, fragile institutions, and mounting security challenges. Meanwhile, in developing story, the government of Benin says it has successfully foiled an attempted coup carried out by members of the country's armed forces. In a televised address, Interior Minister Alassane Seydu announced that the security forces had remained loyal to the state. The Beninese armed forces and their leadership, true to their oath, remained committed to the republic, he said. The statement came hours after a group of soldiers appeared on national television claiming they had removed President Patrice Talon from power. Eyewitnesses told the BBC they heard gunfire, and reports indicated that some state broadcaster journalists had been held hostage during the takeover attempt. A presidential advisor later confirmed to the BBC that President Talon was unharmed and had been moved to a secure location. The situation in Cotonou continues to develop as authorities work to stabilize key institutions and restore full control over state media. French diplomats have dismissed earlier reports claiming President Patrice Talon had sought refuge at the French embassy in Cotonou following Sunday's attempted coup in Benin. The clarification comes as concerns grow across West Africa after yet another coup attempt in a region already shaken by multiple military takeovers in recent years. Benin, long viewed as one of Africa's more stable democracies, has not been immune to political tension. Although the country is a major cotton producer, it remains among the world's poorest nations. President Talon has also faced criticism over alleged crackdowns on dissent and restrictions on opposition voices. In a televised statement, Interior Minister Alassane Seydu confirmed that loyalist forces had moved quickly to suppress the uprising. He said, "A small group of soldiers launched a mutiny aimed at destabilizing the state and its institutions," adding that the armed forces were able to retain control of the situation and foil the attempt. The comments followed a chaotic morning in Cotonou, where a faction of soldiers briefly claimed to have overthrown the government during a broadcast on state television. Witnesses reported hearing gunfire, and some journalists at the broadcaster were reportedly held hostage. A presidential advisor later told the BBC that President Talon remained safe. Meanwhile, helicopters have been seen patrolling the skies above Cotonou, and several roads in the city have been blocked as troops secure strategic locations. The government says operations are ongoing to stabilize the capital and restore full order. Foreign missions in Benin have issued urgent safety advisories as the government works to contain Sunday's attempted coup. The French and Russian embassies have urged their citizens to remain indoors, while the U.S. Embassy has advised Americans to avoid Cotonou altogether, particularly the area surrounding the presidential compound. The coup attempt was led by Lieutenant Colonel Pascal Tigri, who, in a brief broadcast earlier in the day, accused President Patrice Talon of mismanaging the country. The rebels cited what they described as the continuing deterioration of the security situation in northern Benin as one of their main grievances. Benin's army has suffered casualties in recent years along its northern frontier with Niger and Burkina Faso, where jihadist groups linked to Islamic State and Al-Qaeda continue to expand southward. In their statement, the soldiers condemned what they called the government's ignorance and neglect of troops killed in action and the plight of their families, who they claimed had been abandoned to their sad fate by Mr. Patrice Talon's policies. The insurgent faction also criticized cuts to healthcare, rising taxes, and restrictions on political activities. President Talon, 67, is due to step down next year after completing his second 5-year term, with elections scheduled for April. A prominent businessman, once dubbed the King of Cotton, he came to power in 2016 and has pledged not to seek a third term. He has endorsed Finance Minister Romuald Wadagni as his preferred successor. While Talon has been credited by supporters with driving economic growth, his administration has faced accusations of suppressing opposition voices. In October, the country's electoral commission barred the main opposition candidate from contesting the upcoming election, citing insufficient sponsorship. Last month, Parliament passed constitutional amendments introducing a new Senate as a second legislative chamber and extending the terms of elected officials from 5 to 7 years. However, the presidential 2-term limit remains unchanged. Authorities say loyalist troops have regained control of key institutions in Cotonou, but military helicopters continue to patrol the skies, and several major roads remain blocked as security forces sweep the capital for remaining threats. Meanwhile, on the other hand, in Abuja, Nigeria government has withdrawn the fighter aircraft earlier deployed to the Benin Republic after authorities in Abuja assessed that the security situation in the neighboring country had stabilized following Sunday's dramatic but short-lived coup attempt. Reports indicate that the aircraft, which were dispatched from Lagos for aerial surveillance and regional monitoring, were ordered to return to base on Sunday afternoon. Updated intelligence confirmed that loyalist forces in Benin had regained control of key state institutions and that there was no immediate threat to Nigeria's territorial security. Security analyst Zagazola Makama stated on his X handle that the attempted overthrow of President Patrice Talon had been decisively foiled, with loyalist troops reasserting authority over Cotonou before nightfall. The crisis erupted in the early hours of Sunday, when mutinous soldiers launched an assault on the presidential residence. The attack was pushed back by loyalist forces, prompting the plotters to change their strategy in a final attempt to seize power. They stormed the Office de Radiodiffusion et Télévision du Bénin, ORTB, briefly taking over the national broadcast station in an effort to control the state signal. Nigerian authorities say they continue to monitor developments closely, but maintain that the situation in Benin has returned to relative stability.